Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Uncaged. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me tonight, as always, is my boy, DC, Daniel Crimmins. I'm in fear of my life. How are you, Dan?
Yep. What it do?
Oh, folks, we have a great topic for this edition. As you just heard, yep, what it do. We're talking about the Nexus. You're either Nexus or you're against us.
And we'll even mention the core.
The fucking core. Oh, man. So, here, okay, let me say this first and foremost. I will say this before we even get into it, because CM Punk is involved in this Nexus thing. But for the love of God, I'm in fear for my life. Really? Everything would have been fine if he just would have left the statement, but then he just fumbles the ball, and hours later, he's in fear of his life. You know it's legal talk. You know it's all that mumbo jumbo.
Oh, yeah.
It's so ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous.
He did it to get himself, out of the situation. There's questions as to, well, was there a no compete clause? Which typically, if you're fired for a cause, it's like a year.
Yeah.
But I guess what people are saying is, that wasn't the case here.
Well, for me, I mean, it's just like he was fired without cause, and I mean, with cause. Excuse me, thank you, with cause. The problem is, when you look at a guy like that, and we were talking about this before we got on air, is he a douche? Yes, but does CM Punk draw money? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like we were talking about, we could see him go into WWE. There's money with a Seth match. There's money with a Roman match. There's a lot of stuff that they can do. And Survivor Series is in November, so we shall see. Have a nice little 6-month run with Punk, see what happens.
And and honestly, you even think there's another door that we thought was welded shut. Maybe not now. I'm talking Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Saw the kind of match he had with Kevin Owens.
Right.
Could we get something like that between the two of them?
Yeah. I mean, we've always talked about that interaction they had going into the WWE 13 video game, that infamous thing with JR. I mean, if he could do that with Kevin Owens, then why not? So, I think it would be fun. I think it would be really fun.
It's a money thing, and let's be real here. Everything that, and it's been said that the Elite were willing to do a meeting, but they wanted no issues for 6 months before they even did anything. Well, I'm sorry, but the Elite work for you. You are not their bitch.
Mm-hmm.
They work for you. They are your contracted talent. If they won't do what you tell them to do, send them home without pay. Suspend them.
That's the issue I've always had with this too, because everybody thinks that the old Young Bucks are the the innocent ones in this. I'm like, no. The whole thing started because the Young Bucks said that, the reason why Colt Cabana is not on TV is because of CM Punk, which was not true. And then Adam Page got word of this, and he pretty much went off script, which is a no-no in wrestling, and shot on Punk just right before the pay-per-view, and CM Punk had that look on his face like, what the hell, dude? And then he chops him in the mouth at the pay-per-view, and then the whole thing starts.
And like it's an everybody's the asshole kind of thing.
Right. And then CM Punk shot on him on TV when he wasn't in the arena. And then it spiraled out of control.
Like I said, is Punk a massive tool? Absolutely.
Yep.
Jack Perry thing, was he absolutely in the wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Should Punk have been fired a long time ago?
Yeah, he shouldn't have been. That was the thing. With what happened the first time, Tony should have said, no, we're not having this. Goodbye.
But, you and I talked about this, and maybe it's just me being conspiracy theorist. If you remember a couple months ago, it was like May or June when Raw was in Chicago. I think it was Raw.
Yeah, when he was there with meeting with Tamina and
randomly showed up.
Yeah, when he was with Tamina.
Hey,
Yep.
Who let him in? That's
right.
A. But B, let's look at this. I think what that was a message to Tony Khan just saying, hey, you want to let me go? Fine, because I'll go there.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we mentioned, he met with Tamina in the parking lot. He met with The Miz. He met with Triple H. So, That's the thing. I think he's starting to realize, like, hey, this company that I left 7 years ago is not the same company that's there now. It's a different ownership. And I mean, Vince was the one that wanted him to go home. Triple H was the one who said, hey, Vince doesn't want you here, go home. But now, no Vince. So
Was
yeah.
was that Vince asked them, or Vince? The story, again, this could be BS, maybe not. Vince asked them, well, is he still under contract there?
Mhm.
Because with something like that, you cannot have anything that even sniffs and reeks of impropriety, because they were already and still are facing the MLW lawsuit.
Right.
And if it even looked like they were talking business, Tony Khan would have had a lawsuit on them the next day before the sun was even up.
Well, that's my thing too, because the report did come out like in December 2022, like 3 months after the brawl out there, that Punk was in talks with WWE about doing a Gebian in the Rumble and him and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, which would have been very interesting. But that's my thing too, man. I think that conversation did happen, but also at the same time, I look at it from a stance like this. We talk about it. I think that man deliberately wanted to get himself out of there. I mean, we saw what happened with the travel, with him taking the turbo. He knew. He knew he wanted to get the fuck out of there.
And I think honestly, what happened with going back to the WWE thing,
Yeah.
I think that was Punk's way of saying to Tony Khan, look, you want to fire me, do it. I'll just go back here. And it's funny that almost immediately after that, you start hearing the stories like, oh, AEW's going to bring him back. Do I think AEW needs CM Punk? Absolutely not. Does WWE need him? No.
No.
I'll just say I'm the guy that thinks that AEW would get on fine without the Elite.
I'm right there with you, but I mean, they've put into Tony Khan's head that if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be there. And here's my thing too, as well. We saw what happened when he made that announcement on Collision in Chicago, and 89,000 people tuned out of Collision right after that. They were done.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad because now there's going to be what if? Do I think they would ever bring him back?
No.
I think Tony Khan would lose the respect of the locker room at that point. And don't get me wrong, I love what AEW has done. They're valued at a $2 billion company. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely great. But see, here's the overall issue is going forward. You need somebody that's willing to be the heavy, willing to, be the boss. And it should be somebody that's not in active competition. If you want to have a wrestler, fine. But I mentioned they don't need the Elite. Look at it this way: did they get on fine without Kenny Omega for a year?
Yes.
Yes, they did. And let's be real, Kenny Omega's probably looking on the backside of his career at this point.
Oh yeah. For how many years he's been doing this? Absolutely.
And how banged up his body is,
from his back and everything. Yep.
Don't get me wrong, still is having great matches. Is he who he was in New Japan?
No.
Hell, is he even who he was at the beginning of AEW? No. He's slowing down. The Bucks are slowing down. Time waits for no man.
True.
You need to start focusing on building the talent that you got. And if you have your entire company built around one or two people, it's the same problem WWE ran into. Think about it. Roman, part-timer. Brock, part-timer, probably on his way out to being a no-timer.
Mm-hmm.
Orton, probably not coming back. So with regards to that, and you've got such amazing talent. I'm an MJF, Mark.
Me too.
pay the man whatever he wants.
That's the thing too. Like, you have someone right there who represents an old school style with promos and just his overall persona. Like, it works. You know what I'm saying? Now we're gonna get MJF and Samoa Joe. The story writes itself. So I mean, just let MJF be MJF and let's do it. Let's rock.
Exactly. Like, to me, he is Ric Flair, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Roddy Piper in one giant ball.
Yeah, he's pretty much he's hot stuff Eddie Gilbert, right? In like the hardcore part of his career, like in the prime of hot stuff Eddie Gilbert's career.
Yeah, like, dude, it works. Like, and the people love him.
That's my thing too, man. It's just we're in such a amazing time of professional wrestling where we have so many great promotions and stuff out there. But I will always say this about AEW: Tony Khan is like the Richard Pryor Brewster's Millions. Now you've seen Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor, right? One of the all-time classics. He's that guy who's so excited that he still owns a professional wrestling company and just goes out there and spends all this money. Tony needs to put his foot down. Now, he put his foot down with the CM Punk situation, but what he said afterward is what got a lot of people talking. So, I mean, with Tony Khan, he just can't be, oh, I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. I'm a fan like you guys. Because when he did that speech in front of the Chicago fans where he got booed saying, I'm just a fan like you guys, that's where all the credibility of the firing goes away.
The pre-taped message would have been fine.
Yes.
Would just put that out, just say,
unfortunately, we had to terminate Philip.
I am not an on-screen talent. I never intended to be. I never want to be. However, I owe it to you. Here's how I would have. If
speech,
this is how I'm addressing it. I would start off and say, good evening. Recent events have changed the course of the company, and I feel I owe it to the fans to make you aware of such changes. As many of you are aware, this past weekend at All In, there was an incident revolving Phillip Brooks, aka CM Punk. After discussions with the legal department and our disciplinary committee, and upon their recommendation, effective immediately, I have terminated both the talent and employees contract of Phillip Brooks, aka CM Punk, effective immediately.
That's all you needed to say.
Moving forward, there will be no further mention of him on this broadcast. Please enjoy the show tonight, and thank you for being a fan.
That's it. Or just say, hey, we have come to terms on the release of CM Punk.
And we wish him the best in future.
In future endeavors. That's it. Just that. You don't have to do, I was in fear for my life and all that. Don't sit in the crowd. I know. Don't sit on the chair and talk 6 minutes for how I love Chicago. I was from here and and I owe it to you people. I mean, this is not like when Paul Heyman fired Sabu for missing the ECW show and doing the Japan show. That was different. That was Paul just pissed off at Sabu for missing the show and doing Japan. This was just.
And on the plus side, at least he didn't fire Punk on his wedding day.
Oh, God. You can say what you want about Vince McMahon, and we talk about this all the time. The difference between AEW and WWE. WWE has structure. They do not. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. I mean, how many times people say, well, why don't you ever hear about problems, any fights? You do. They punish them.
Here's the thing.
Was it Booker T and Batista?
My bad. Yeah, Booker T and Batista, 2006. Yeah, they both got sent home. And then what did Vince do? He said, hey, you two, you're going to work together for the title.
Yeah. Made them have a match.
Yep.
Not you don't want to work with him? Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
They made Matt Hardy, Edge, and Lita. What happened with that situation? They made money off it, and they had a feud. Okay.
I mean, the Bite This interview
is still one of the most iconic interviews out there. Yep.
I mean, at that point, you knew he was already back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, too. Like, you have to do stuff like that. And, I mean, I look at it from a stance as well. You want to talk about arguments. Not too long ago, there was like a shouting thing with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and the Judgment Day. And after that match, because I think they were yelling because Dominic was supposed to be the big guy coming out of that, and they were yelling because not because they hated each other. It's like, God damn it, we could have had a better match. They were all upset because they wanted to have a better match, and nobody came to fighting. Nobody punched anybody. It was just they were frustrated with how the match outcome went, and they wanted it to be better. You know, you don't see them smacking each other. You know, Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, for example. Kevin Owens stiffed Roman Reigns in the ear. Roman Reigns got him back and gave Kevin Owens a nice little shiner.
And let's not forget Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman.
Oh, God, the clothesline in the Royal Rumble? Yeah. I was like, all right, big boy, you want to stiff me? Here you go. Boom. You don't want to go down? All right.
And him just saying, slow it down.
Oh, he yelled. For those who've never seen it, it was so funny. Like, slow it down. All right, you want to hit me? Boom.
And Brock didn't even hit him at full speed.
No, it's just he was so angry about that. And I mean, like I said, the last real fight that we had, even if you want to take it back with Brock, like Chris Jericho was ready to kick Brock Lesnar's ass because of the Randy Orton thing at SummerSlam 2016. And I mean, Jericho would have got mollywopped, but he was ready to scrap with Brock Lesnar.
Jericho would not have been Le Champion.
No, he would not be. But he was ready to
lay dead.
He would have been laid dead. But yeah, you don't see that in WWE. Again, structure. I mean, now let's say this right now. If CM Punk were to try to do that with Triple H there, he would have been done already. Triple H don't play that.
No.
And I will say this. Now, do you watch all these media scrums? Because I can't believe these media scrums are like 2 hours long. And it's just, he goes too long with this shit.
I don't like it when WWE does it. I don't like it when AEW, like I can see on the bigger pay-per-views, like you're all in, stuff like that, and like WWE doing it like WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I can understand that, but every show you don't need it.
Well, here's my thing why I like WWE's better than AEW, and I'm gonna put this out there, and you can tell me what you think, Dan. All right, ready? Here we go. WWE's it's the superstars talk. Then other superstars will come out and talk, and then Triple H comes out at the end. He does his little speech, and he'll take some questions, and that's it. It's not long. It's pretty much straight to the point.
Just says, this is what the gate was.
Yep. That's it. Then we go home. Tony Khan. What a great show it was, guys! And
let's fucking go.
Go! And then he's just out there with the entire time. And here's the thing, Tony, you don't have to be out there the entire time sitting next to them. Just come out at the end of them, do the shtick. You don't have to be sitting there the entire goddamn time. And having friggin' Adam Hopkins who's there now, you could tell, like on the last one, he's pretty much, Tony's like, all right, we got to go. I only have time for one more question. Because they're in the background going.
Like let's go.
Let's go. Like, we want to close the fucking arena. Let's go.
Like the janitors are sitting there with their brooms thinking,
yeah, can we go home now?
Like,
we got to clean the place.
We got work to do.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting, and with Punk, that leads us to our topic of the night.
Oh my goodness!
Good old Nexus, a group that had so much potential, could have been so much better. But folks, I know Nexus has been a couple years now.
13 years to be exact.
To give you all an idea, before NXT is what it is now, it evolved from the old ECW on a sci-fi show.
Oh, wait, hold on. I kind of cut you off just because you're making me laugh. So Vince McMahon does the announcement. This is the final episode of ECW on Sci-Fi, and in its place next week, the debut of NXT.
Yes, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay," because he didn't really mention what NXT was.
No.
And so you're like, "Oh, okay." Are they just renaming ECW into NXT? And it ended up being like developmental guys getting called up, and there were weird challenges.
There was the kegs, there was trivia, there was promos, there was everything.
There was Titus O'Neil, but I think he was the second season.
Yep, but that the keg was the second season, yes.
I think he tripped on that one.
He did. You had Daniel Bryan drinking soda. You had all of them doing promos on one another based off a word.
Low-key, or sorry, Kaval.
All with his low voice. I'm doing total nonstop action. Kaval.
Again, another guy, they didn't know what to do with him.
They had no clue. I just won the second season of NXT, and Dolph Ziggler, I'm challenging you for the Intercontinental Championship.
And here's how you knew he was doomed from the start.
They put him with Lay Cool.
With Lay Cool,
yeah,
really?
yeah, really. But this equates to the first season. Daniel Bryan being put with the Miz because everybody's like, fucking Daniel Bryan, who's been here for over 20 years with the Miz.
Everybody knew who he was.
Yes.
It's like that's him. Bryan freaking Danielson, the American Dragon.
Yep, you're gonna get your fucking head kicked in, Bryan Danielson.
And we had this guy named Skip Sheffield. We know he liked to be fed more. I wonder whatever happened to him.
So, all right, we're gonna do it like this. So the rookies on this were Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, Wade Barrett.
Afraid I've got
some bad news. He was pro'd by Chris Jericho. Darren Young was pro'd by with CM Punk. Lord, David Otunga had R-Truth. Justin Gabriel had Matt Hardy, and that infamous Matt Hardy, when he was on the rope and Justin Gabriel got on that rope and Matt Hardy fell flat on his ass during that tag match, if you remember that. Oh my God. Ryback, Skip Sheffield had William Regal. Heath Slater, the one-man band, had Christian. Is there anyone else that I'm... Daniel Bryan, The Miz, and who else am I missing from that?
Michael Tarver?
Oh, God, Michael fucking Tarver. Carlito.
He's wrestling anymore.
No, I think he's left the business. Michael Tarver was, his pro was Carlito. Yes.
That's not cool.
That's not cool. But yeah, Michael Tarver. Well, Michael Tarver, if you remember what he got fired, because he had a beef with John Cena because John Cena, I think, stiffed him too hard with chairs, and he complained.
I mean, kudos to him for standing up for himself.
Right, but I mean, this also reminds
me of stones.
Right, and this reminds me of the time. This is why Alex Riley's not in the WWE anymore, because he didn't like the rib John Cena was doing on him, and he complained.
Oh no, supposedly he also made some comments about Cena's wife at the time. I don't know.
I don't even remember that.
I remember there being something, or there's some kind of relationship thing going. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of Kenny.
No, that was Kenny Dykstra. That was Ken Doan.
And because supposedly Cena had a thing with Mickie James back in the day, and
yeah. So for those that don't remember that, I love that you brought this up. In like late 2008, 2009, John Cena was with Mickie James, and Kenny Dykstra, Ken Doan of the Spirit Squad, used to date Mickie James, and that's why. That's why he left, and now he's back as a WWE producer.
And again, he was one of those guys where I think he really could have been something.
The thing, well, dude, if you remember with him, like when they broke him away from the Spirit Squad, this man beat Ric Flair 3 times in a row on pay-per-view.
Could have been something, but we'll never know.
Right. But yeah, Michael Tarver, you got to give him stones for sticking up for himself.
Yeah. Tarver, I think, ultimately retired. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I know he does, like, appearances, like, conventions and all that. Mm-hmm. Hey, those guys can make some good money at some of the bigger ones.
That they can. But I mean, the last thing I remember with Michael Tarver, like, if you remember even before that, like, he was one of the extras in the Big Show Floyd Money Mayweather bout from WrestleMania. Yeah, but, I just...
And, they asked him, I guess, he did a thing, and they said, Nexus... Oh, so it was last year, they said... or they were saying to him, he did an interview at one of the conventions, and they said, if WWE called and they wanted to do a Nexus reunion,
would he do it?
Would you? And he said, absolutely. He said, that was, a cool thing to be a part of. And, it was. Like, well, so, we get the show, we get NXT, and, it was corny, it was campy. And then it ends, Barrett wins. Which Daniel Bryan, it started with Michael Cole just berating him, which was a Vince thing.
Hold on. You are not just going to brush over the fact that Daniel Bryan absolutely mollywop punched Michael Cole in the face. That guy's a maniac. He gets the limit. He knocks down The Miz, and that was one of the most iconic moments from that season.
Yeah. And then Barrett wins, and then you're like, oh okay.
Yeah, he won.
The next week on Raw, they all show up, beat everybody. Daniel Bryan locks Justin Roberts in a crossface and chokes him with Justin Roberts' own tie. Justin Roberts had the worst facial expression I have ever seen. And they fired Daniel Bryan over it. Or Bryan Daniels. Literally, they fired him over it because apparently a couple of the advertisers didn't like it.
Right.
So they fire him. And you're just like, why would you fire him?
So when Wade Barrett talks about it, he said the rule that you're learned in developmental, Vince doesn't like choking, Vince doesn't like spitting, and Daniel Bryan did two of those things. He spit on Cena and he choked poor Justin Roberts. So if you remember that day, and this is why I was so shocked because I wasn't expecting it. Wade Barrett was on that Raw. He cut a promo pretty much like, okay, I'm Wade Barrett, I'm in WWE, the typical promo after you win, right? Then they come to the ring. They beat up everybody. They remove the exposed. They expose the concrete. They rip up the mats. They go after everybody. They hit Jerry Lawler. They go after Michael Cole. Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan chokes Justin Roberts. They take out poor John Cena. 450. Everything. They took out Cena. They do everything. You see the facial expressions from the people. People are like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like,
exactly. But you know what? It was such a cool thing. Like, and I remember I was like, what, 2012, right?
What, for the Nexus? No, that was 2010.
Oh, I guess I'm trying to make myself a little bit younger.
I don't like getting old either.
You're getting there, Michael. You're gonna be there. Just you fucking wait.
Hey, I was in high school when that angle started, so I get it. I get it.
They had a good theme. It was "We Are One" by 12 Stones.
They also did Broken for Judgment Day 02, and you're forgetting the best one. That dude was on Evanescence's Bring Me to Life, the guy, theme song.
We don't discuss Evanescence.
Why? What happened?
We just don't talk about them.
All right. Okay.
We don't want it. Just no.
Just no. You don't like. Wait, hold on a minute, Daniel Crimmins. You don't like Evanescence?
No.
Why?
After they got rid of their original guitar player, it just hasn't been the same.
Oh, all right, fine. I know this. I didn't. Oh my god, I didn't know this was a touchy subject. I'm sorry.
I don't like, with very few exceptions, I don't like it when bands replace members.
Well, how do you think I felt when Josie Scott is not in friggin' Saliva anymore and it's some other guy and they suck?
That was his own choice, though.
I know, but it still sucks without Josie Scott.
I honestly, I didn't even know they were still a thing.
Me either. Like, I
There's a video of them performing "I Walk Alone."
I walk alone
without Josie Scott, and I'm reminded of that line from the movie Anchorman where Steve Carell looks at Christina Applegate's character and he says, "You're not Ron."
That's exactly how that felt. I know what you're talking about. Oh my god, yes.
So, we get NXT running roughshod for a while, and it's like, Sheamus, there was a whole thing where he's trying to be buddy-buddy, and they're kind of glaring at him like sharks, like,
dude, get the fuck away from us.
And it worked, and then there was Cena put out the challenge, us versus you, and the whole gimmick. Miz had the Money in the Bank at the time, and it's like, well, I'll let you know. I don't know.
Now, here's the funny part I want to add to that because you actually make a great point. So WWE, the one time, and I was there for this, the one and only pay-per-view at the Coliseum, WWE had WWE Fatal 4-Way. It was Sheamus, Cena, Edge, and Randy Orton. And Sheamus won thanks to the Nexus' help, and he won the title. Now, do you remember that pay-per-view? Because that pay-per-view was the shits.
I just remember Sheamus winning the title.
That was what it was from.
The god ugly piece of shit. Fucking spinner.
I know you hate the spinner, but that was it too. It's like he's beating on everybody. You're buddying with Sheamus, and they're like, no. Like I distinctly remember them beating the crap out of John Morrison and Evan Bourne in the back, and it was hilarious. Because remember, he did the parkour. He tried to parkour on him, and he got whooped. Whooped.
He got whooped, Maggle.
Whooped. But yeah, no, that was the thing. Like they tried to buddy everybody. Now, who was the worst for you that they beat down? The Bret Hart beat down or the Ricky Steamboat beat down? It's got to be Bret Hart because that was the one with the car, right?
Bret Hart was a stroke victim.
Yes.
And the whole
Yeah, we're gonna go there.
The limo.
That's what I'm saying. He had a limo in there.
And
The
it
car.
goes right into a freaking semi.
Yep.
Like, okay, all you have to do is get down onto the floor of the limo and you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. But poor Bret Hart got that right in his leg, and he was in a cast. That poor Bret Hart.
But then he gets up 2 weeks later and
He's fine. It's a miracle, Bret. It's a miracle.
So, it leads to SummerSlam, was it 2010, 2011?
2010.
And it was Team Bret Hart, which ended up, it's Miz saying, oh, I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it. It was Cena, Bret Hart,
R-Truth.
R-Truth, Edge,
Jericho,
and a mystery partner who you think it's going to be Miz. Ends up being a returning Daniel Bryan with the most generic freaking music. He will admit that music was awful.
It was terrible. That down, and then Matt Stryker saved it. The American Dragon has arrived at SummerSlam.
And I will be honest, and Wade Barrett will even admit this. Nexus should have gone over.
Edge and Chris Jericho have admitted that they should have gone over. John Cena has admitted I was wrong. They should have went over.
But Cena didn't think they should.
Right.
And Vince, of course,
got to send them home happy, pal.
Well, sometimes, you don't.
Right. As if you remember, he DDTs them. It's Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel against Cena. He DDTs them on the concrete, and then John Cena just comes back and beats both of them like nothing.
Yeah. It's just like, and it was Cena and Bret Hart.
Yes, that's right.
Because, and even Bret says those last two things that he did with WWE Physical Life shouldn't have done it.
I mean, we don't talk about your favorite match in the world, the one with Vince. No, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah.
No, we don't talk about it. So we ended up getting a Cena Barrett feud, which honestly was not bad.
I mean, it culminated in the Hell in a Cell match where it was a good match, and if he lost, he would have to join the Nexus, that being Cena. Michael McGillicuddy, who was the runner-up, who was going to be Curtis Axel of NXT Season 2, comes out, and then big old Husky Harris comes out and also costs Cena, and Wade Barrett won.
That Husky Harris guy.
Yeah, that Husky Harris guy.
He followed the buzzards.
That he did. Rest in peace, Bray. We love you. But yeah, no, that match was actually really good. I remember that match being a good match, and the feud was good. And then they fucked it up. They fucked it up.
You know what? Honestly, it should have ended with Wade Barrett winning the WWE title.
Well, that's my thing. John Cena then makes fun of everybody, beats him up, makes fun of Heath Slater, calls him Wendy, makes fun of everybody. Then you get to bragging rights, where it was Randy Orton and Wade Barrett, and Wade Barrett won by DQ. Did not win the title, but he won the match. And then Survivor Series happens. It's Randy Orton and Wade Barrett with John Cena as the special guest referee. Randy Orton wins. And that's what I would have loved, like him as the first ever British World Heavyweight Champion at the time, winning. But we didn't get that. And I think it was a missed opportunity. And then that led to John
Cena politicking again.
Yeah, Cena politicking again. But here's the thing, dude. It led us to TLC. Were you a fan of John Cena and Wade Barrett in the chairs match?
No.
You don't let the chairs just falling all down on Wade Barrett? No.
No. I didn't like it when anytime they've done it. The only time I liked when somebody did it, I believe it was an ECW. I believe it was Terry and Dory Funk versus Public Enemy.
That's right, yes.
Terry Funk. If you don't know, look the clip up on YouTube. Terry Funk's, God rest his soul, is in the ring. He asks for a chair.
Just throws it.
Literally, one flies, and then literally every chair in the building.
And then you see Terry do the infamous fall, down.
The whole time, just
that.
And you see the ref just being like, get out of the ring,
Terry. Get out of the ring, Terry.
I don't think he could.
No, you cannot.
And like you just see that and you're like, the hell? So then the end of the Nexus has this feud with.
Hold on. Well, wait, you forgot one thing, and I just want to put you on this, and my apologies for interrupting you, my co-host. But the worst thing that I think that didn't happen out of it, the Undertaker and Kane had that buried alive match, and then the Nexus came out and helped, Kane. The fact that at WrestleMania 27, and mind you, we did get Undertaker and Triple H, but the fact that we didn't get Undertaker and Wade Barrett, because they were originally talking about doing Undertaker and Wade Barrett.
Well, I think I think part of that was Taker didn't want it.
We didn't want to work with him now.
And Taker, justifiably so, kind of got what he wanted.
Yeah, I mean the Triple H match was really good.
One of the better ones.
Yes, but the thing is, you think at that time, because Wade Barrett was getting pushed to the moon here. Do you think him and Taker would have had a great WrestleMania match? Moon. Do you think they would have had a great WrestleMania match?
Yeah, I think it's. You always talk about like doing right by the business, and that was at a time when Undertaker was noticeably starting to slow down.
Yeah, this was the year after the first Shawn match.
And it's like, okay, all right. He doesn't have too much gas left in the tank.
Right.
I mean, I think Undertaker has since admitted himself that, he probably should have retired before he did.
I'll agree. But I mean, the thing with Wade Barrett, and I kind of go with this.
Barrett.
I mean, he's even talked about in 2011, and we'll get to the core here in a second here, but he was supposed to win that Money in the Bank, but they went with Daniel Bryan. Do you think they should have went with originally Wade Barrett winning the Money in the Bank?
Wasn't that at a time when you still had two Money in the Banks? Like you had the red and blue.
Had the red and blue, yeah. That was the 2011 one. Was the one where, oh God, so Alberto Del Rio won the Raw one, and Daniel Bryan won the SmackDown one. Yeah.
Didn't Del Rio? Oh, that's right. He had Funkasaurus as his.
Yeah, Brodus Clay, and then Brodus Clay went bye, and then he was just him. And then Brodus Clay became a Funkasaurus.
Yeah, former NWA World Heavyweight Champ.
Now who lost it to EC3 and is retired now. Good old Tyrus.
He ain't done.
With his Fox on Fox News, yes.
Nobody stays retired. How many times did Terry Funk retire?
20 plus. But yeah, no, that was the year where Alberto Del Rio cashed in on CM Punk after Kevin Nash came back and screwed CM Punk.
Didn't tear his quad this time.
Did not tear his quad, but they were supposed to have that match, and it didn't happen. God damn it, it didn't happen for a health reason.
Think back to that. Could Punk have gotten him up in the GTS?
No, I don't think so.
It's just how I don't think it would have worked.
No.
Do I think he could have gotten him on the shoulders? Absolutely. The problem is Nash had very long legs.
Yes.
It would have been tough. And for whatever reason, the match never happened. And, we had Phil versus Triple H. But before that,
yeah,
we had Punk working with, there was the Nexus Civil War.
Oh, God. No, here's my thing. Everybody talks about the pipe bomb, right? Everybody talks about the match with Cena Money in the Bank. And I mean, we'll just say it really briefly. Do you think Wade Barrett should have won that Money in the Bank, or do you think they were right with the decision with Daniel Bryan?
Well, see, here's the thing of it. I like Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to fucking call it, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that title reign.
Right.
Forget that he had it. They focus more on the WrestleMania 30 run, and they remember the Planet's champion.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've got to wonder if he ever wins the AEW World title. Are we going to get like an AEW World title version of that?
That would be funny to see, just because of the fact that it would be a throwback to that character, just to see what we had from 2019 in today's day and age.
And you know what? I will just say real quick. People hated that title so much. and they hated him.
That's the beauty of it, though. It did. That's the best thing. If you can elicit a reaction like that, it works, man.
And you know what? I would love to see, I would pay to see that. I would pay money to see that.
Me too.
But so then we get the split, and it was, you had the core. That's the best freaking name you can come up with.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So, but they do the split too, and I mean, they had the Nexus. They had something. They lost all of its heat. They lost all of its momentum. Did you even like the fact that we had a thing with CM Punk wanted to run the Nexus his way, and Wade Barrett wanted to run it this way before we even got to the core? Did you even like that we had like a civil war of who's going to run the fucking Nexus?
Yeah, I felt like that could have been a bigger storyline.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was just kind of there.
And it's like you had them both on the same show. They were both SmackDown, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, around that time, CM Punk was on Raw, and then Wade Barrett went to SmackDown, and he had that infamous feud with the one and only Ezekiel Jackson for the Intercontinental Championship.
People forget he was the IC champion.
Well, he looked like mini Ahmed Johnson. So, I mean, hey.
And people also forget he was the final ECW World Champion.
He beat Christian. Yes, the final ECW.
One of the ugliest titles I've ever seen.
You hate that title so much. Why?
How? I kind of am with Vince on this. I don't like silver titles.
Yeah, all right, I can see that.
And just the design, I hated the artwork of it.
Okay.
To me, that ECW title, the old one, like the old school, like it was classic. Was it a beautiful design? No, it was fucking ugly. Barbed wire on the strap and all that. It was ugly.
But it had feeling and legacy to it.
Exactly. It was legitimacy. And then you see this big monstrosity that, Mark Henry brought out, and you're like,
The fuck is this?
yeah. And then Matt Hardy had it, then Christian had it, then
Jack Swagger
had it.
Swagger.
He likes that hat.
I like this hat. Oh, first of all, I got to just say this about Jack Swagger. One of my favorite things about this time period, because it's in this. Christian comes back from TNA, goes to ECW, friggin' Todd Grisham. It's Christian. Just the most horrible way to friggin' just react to somebody coming back to WWE. It's Christian. You remember that?
I didn't mind it. I didn't like it.
But it was so fucked up. Oh.
But yeah, it wasn't bad. I think they could have done a lot more. And I just felt like the whole Nexus thing, we could have gotten a civil war.
Well, the thing too is they had him take over. And we'll get to the core here in a second. But CM Punk, I remember whipping Husky Harris the lashes to get him into his initiation into the Nexus. I remember them having to do stuff. I mean, the new Nexus was CM Punk, Husky Harris, Michael McGillicuddy, David Otunga. And here's my thing about that. Probably one of the worst ever Raw Tag Team Champions, David Otunga, Michael McGillicuddy.
Oh, I can think of worse.
Okay, hit me.
David Otunga and John Cena.
Well, to even take it back to that. So here's what a lot of people forget. Do you remember who they beat for those tag titles?
Wasn't it Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel?
Okay, so John Cena and David Otunga fought Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, who won the tag titles in 2010, which a lot of people forget because it was such a forgettable title reign. And they win.
A forgettable time. Let's be real here.
It really was. Edge and Chris Jericho were the tag champs, and then poor Edge got hurt. Yes, I remember.
Then Jericho and Big Show.
Jericho, baby. Jericho.
Now, fun fact.
Yes.
Those tag titles at the time, initially there was an alternate design, because if you remember at that time, nameplates were on every freaking title.
Yes.
There was an alternate design that had nameplates on each.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, Vince didn't like them. So then they went to a collector. Last I knew, they sold a couple years ago. I think for like maybe $8,000, or just one of them.
Wow.
Now, for listeners that don't, or viewers that don't know, ring used titles, like anything that can legitimately be tied to an organization, to a specific match, you can get upwards of $10,000.
Okay.
The Intercontinental Championship that was held by Goldust and Ahmed Johnson, I think that one just sold a little bit ago for maybe $10,000.
Hot damn. Okay.
Now, the strap, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know it was that one. Because you got to figure we're looking at a 20-plus-year-old strap. But, yeah. So we get the Civil War, and
Well,
Punk wasn't in Nexus for, very long.
well, you mentioned I got to just go back to the fact about John Cena and David Otunga, because then the next night after they win it, Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel win because David Otunga lied down and they became the tag.
Cena wouldn't do it.
Cena wouldn't do it, and that's how they won the tag titles. And then, like you mentioned, everything that happened with the new Nexus and after the Cena feud. Then Wade Barrett goes over to SmackDown.
Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett, and then we get him, Ezekiel Jackson, Heath Slater, and Justin Gabriel as the core. Now, first off, obviously it has the Nexus feel with the original members in it, but what did you think about number one, the name, and number two, putting Ezekiel in there with them?
See, I didn't hate the Ezekiel Jackson part because I always thought, he had a cool look.
Well, he's also coming off the Brian Kendrick being his heavy.
Like I said, I liked Ezekiel Jackson. I thought he had a good look to him. He was, the kind of the big muscular guy.
Well, you were also a big fan of him with an ECW before this. It was him, William Regal, and Vladimir Kozlov. I think you really liked that, right?
Yeah, it was something different. See, I like it when companies try something different. Now, is it always going to work? No. But sometimes, when you take a risk, sometimes it pays off. Adam Cole and MJF, for example.
It worked. Double clothesline is over.
Months ago, that this would be a thing that fans would love, I would have thought,
No.
no.
And people love it.
It worked. You think of, turning Roman heel.
You were like, oh, no. I mean, after all this with the big dog, no, this ain't going to work.
And then you thought, oh, finally, but no, it'll never work.
And then Paul Heyman gets introduced.
And it worked. You have all the stuff going on. Like, if you had told me it would have worked, I would have thought you were crazy. And Shayna Baszler being a face, I'm all for it. They don't seem to know what the fuck they're doing with her.
I watched the match with Zoe Stark this past week, and I'm like, it's a good match. Shayna is all up in the mix, same with Zoe. And then they respect each other, but we're cool. I'm like, okay.
So is Shayna a heel face? What is she? What are you doing?
She's a tweener, or Zoe Stark is now whatever. I don't know what we're doing here. But all right, we'll see. We'll let it marinate. But but the core, we let that marinate, and we got Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel as the tag champs, and the Big Show and Kane. The Big Show and Kane beat them in 2010 for the tag titles.
What I love is that literally every member of the core has, in interviews, absolutely just shat on it.
It was horrible. It was really bad.
Like Wade Barrett said, there was an interview before he came back. He said, I know it was when he was at NXT. A fan asked him. And he said, I'd love to do a Nexus reunion.
The core.
And they're like, the fan jokingly said, well, what about a core reunion? And he looked and he just says, not on your life. No. The music was terrible.
Wait a minute, hold on. I had enough. I make them sing. Then never take another drop of blood from me. I'll be your end of days.
Yeah, he won't. And he stopped even doing that finisher at the end of days.
Yes.
We got the bull hammer.
We got the ball hammer.
Which, isn't there some guy in Japan that does that move?
Yeah.
A guy, William something or other.
Something Osprey, I don't know.
No, that doesn't seem it.
No. But yeah, that was that was something. Like, well, were you well, the End of Days, that was his moves. I got to talk about his moveset. The Bull Hammer, the End of Days, that spinning Bossman Slam. The Wasteland. Were you a fan of the Wasteland?
That's what it was. It was the Wasteland.
Okay, well, were you a fan of the Wasteland finisher, the Fireman's Carry into like the drop?
Not really. I
mean,
like the Bullhammer better.
Bull Hammer was much better when he got that finisher, yes. But so we have you. You weren't a fan of the theme song either? I'll be your End of Days. No. Okay. So the Core, they win the tag titles. The Big Show and Kane beat them for the SmackDown tag titles. And then they have probably one of the shortest WrestleMania matches ever. It was an 8-man tag. The Core against Big Show, Kane, Santino Marella, and Kofi Kingston. And it lasted like a minute.
And then the Core just kind of like
fizzled out.
Yeah.
And Ezekiel Jackson turned face.
Randomly.
Just
like, no explanation, just like yeah, hey, I'm Jim. I'm here.
I'm out of this fucking group. Goodbye.
And then wasn't there a story like they kicked him out or something or other?
I think they kicked him out or something happened of that lines. I think they kicked him out, and then Ezekiel's like, you know what? I hated this group from the start, and Wade Barrett, I'm going to end your Intercontinental Championship reign, and he did with a torture rack.
And people forget that, Ezekiel Jackson
was the Intercontinental Champion. Do you remember who beat him for the title?
Some Stardust fellow.
Yeah, some dashing guy. And then Cody Rhodes beat him. Well, dude, that led to the infamous match. Where's that referee? He's trying to fuck on me.
Oh, boy. But then, let's not forget the end of the Nexus. There was no ending.
There was no ending.
It just randomly. Like, Punk kind of, honestly, I don't think CM Punk ever really wanted to do it.
No, he was just like, we're going to be in the new Nexus. Like, a lot of people forget he was the leader of the new Nexus going into the John Cena battle Money in the Bank.
It kind of seemed like they were turning him into kind of like another straight edge society. Like, it was going to be like a cult.
It was a watered down version of the straight edge society.
And then, so he has a feud with Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you get to Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago, and you expect to see him coming out and having, the armband.
Nope.
There's no mention of the Nexus whatsoever.
Right.
And at that point, like, Bray,
all of them, like Michael McGillicuddy, David Otunga, nobody.
I refuse to call him McGillicuddy. It was Joe Hennig.
Yeah.
Otunga.
Nobody.
All got sent back to FCW / what would become NXT.
Yeah. Well, I mean, David Otunga stuck around because he would go on to be John Laurinaitis' boy.
People power.
He became like his assistant, his errand boy.
With the coffee cup.
The coffee cup. And I mean, Slater and Justin Gabriel were a team for like a little bit after that.
I mean, it's Heath Slater. Like, that guy he's so talented.
He's doing his thing in Impact, man. He's
loving it.
Me too.
Would I love to see him back in WWE again? Absolutely.
Sure, but like what he's doing in Impact now, just let him do his thing.
Heath Miller, I think is his name.
I think he's just Heath. Heath.
The best thing he ever did in WWE, and it wasn't even a match. I'm talking the infamous Brock Lesnar promo.
I don't give a shit about your kids.
Just saying, Brock, I've got kids. And you expect Heyman to say something, you get Brock saying, I don't give a shit about
your kids.
It worked.
It did. Well, if you remember on this time period too, like right after the Core and all that disbanded and the new Nexus, like he was the one-man band. He got to do the stuff with Piper. He wrestled the Legends on Raw and got his ass kicked every week. I think the only one he beat was Doink the Clown.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. He lost to Vader. God rest his soul.
Lost to Sid.
Yeah. surprised Sid actually showed up to Raw that night.
Yes, he lost to Lita.
Lost to DDP. He felt the bang.
The bang, he gave him that diamond cutter, brother.
God, DDP can still do the diamond cutter, and he's in his 60s.
I know. He lost to Rikishi. I remember that he lost to Rikishi too.
Got a face too. Well, half a stink face because Rikishi came out wearing leather pants.
I know. Yes. But I think the only one that really it took a turn for everybody was talking about Otunga. Daniel Bryan would go on to win the world title and to get that amazing heel run and the start of the Yes movement.
Oh yeah,
early Yes movement. I'm trying to think others like Darren Young, 2011 Darren Young. I think was this the start? They were slowly going towards the primetime players, and if you remember, their original manager was somebody by the name of Abraham Washington.
Yeah.
Did you like him with them at the start or no?
See, he was somebody those were two guys, both Titus and Darren Young.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked. I am a fan of both of them, and I think Titus O'Neil is a missed opportunity.
But he's just a genuine good dude as well. He's just a genuine good dude.
And I will say Titus O'Neil is somebody that you could have put the world title on. You could have had him go to your corporate events, do all this, representing your company as your top guy.
The father of the year.
He has a good story. He is somebody you can get behind.
Mm-hmm.
That the kids can cheer. And I don't care what people say, representation matters.
Representation of your presentation, exactly.
I mean, how many Black World Champions have we had? We've had Kofi, Lashley,
Big
E,
Ron Simmons. Yep, Bobby Lashley. All
everybody else.
I mean, people count The Rock, but I mean, The Rock, Samoan. But it is what it is. But that's my thing too, and what I love about too is as well. Obviously, then Darren Young would go on to make Darren Young great again with Bob Backlund.
The fact that was dropped to me was just.
Well, he got a push. He wrestled for the Intercontinental title on pay-per-view. He got a push.
But to me, they could have done more, and it just was again randomly dropped.
Justin Gabriel, I remember around the time, he was on NXT for a little bit, in the early stages. They kind of re-energized and resurfaced him over there. The only other one I think we forgot to mention there that was really big.
Also, Energizer Bunny. Adam Rose.
Oh, the old bunny. He was the bunny for Adam Rose. Yes.
Then there was Husky Harris.
I don't know what happened to him. No, I don't know what happened to him. Besides following the buzzers, I think somebody let him in.
All the people that came from the Nexus.
He would be one of the most successful members of the Nexus.
And he hated Husky Harris.
And he hated it.
Hated that gimmick.
Yes.
But when we've talked, you have you have all these wrestlers, and and the best ones are ones that make you feel and do something Steve Austin, for example. Steve Austin really didn't become a huge thing. Yeah, there was the Austin 316. But after Owen had the accident and dropped Austin on his head, that to me is what really made Austin.
Well, I mean, he was a great wrestler, but he mostly relied on the strikes and the kicks, but that's what made him him.
And if that hadn't happened, would we have gotten the Vince versus? Would we have gotten Austin versus McMahon? I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it would have been an interesting trajectory for his career.
But again, we had Husky Harris, turning into Bray Wyatt. And I remember, you always on the dirt sheets, you always hear the same, oh, this person's, back in developmental doing this. Sometimes, they get released, they try a gimmick, it doesn't work. But I remember, seeing little clips here and there. And then, I hear, you see the vignettes on Raw. And they're saying, this is, Husky Harris. And I remember hearing all on the message boards people talking about him, saying, you got to check out, see, Bray Wyatt. I checked out a couple promos and I'm like, okay. I mean, I didn't really get it. But when you see it on a big scale, you're just like, I get it. Like, it makes sense. And, this is, to me, again, I will always say, I'm going to miss Bray. Like, he was, honestly, and everybody has said it, he was one of the most creative minds in wrestling. Like, he took so many risks. The kind of the Max Cady, Cape Fear kind of Waylon Mercy character, but he made it work. And then, the Firefly Funhouse Bray / Fiend Bray. You explain that to a non-wrestling fan, they're going to think it's stupid.
Stupid, but
it
got over.
The sad thing is the last incarnation of Bray Wyatt, we'll never know.
Right.
But, and I will make this point, I don't know if you noticed backstage at Raw, I sent you the picture.
Yes.
It looks like they're going to bring back Uncle Howdy.
I saw that with Jay, and he was talking with Dominic about the Judgment Day. Yep.
And you see, it was the lantern, and wasn't it the Uncle Howdy mask?
It was the Uncle Howdy mask, yeah.
So now it said that Bray told them, told Bo, and if anybody can pay tribute to what was planned, it's Bo Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
Let him do it.
I agree. And I mean, it's interesting because we talk about so many trajectories here of where they went. We mentioned Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater. We mentioned David Otunga, Bryan Danielson, Bray Wyatt. There's two other people we got to talk about here. Skip Sheffield. Yep. What it do? He would go on to be Ryback, and he would just
actually no. That middle finger was out of line.
Double middle fingers for Ryback. Okay, so he would go on to be Ryback. He would go on.
Me more.
He would go on to challenge CM Punk for the title and have that feud that was just
injure him.
Yes.
Had very forgettable matches with Kalisto.
Oh, right before he left, yes, for the U.S. title, correct.
And let's not forget,
the worst match for the Intercontinental Championship in the Elimination Chamber. Mark Henry coming out too early.
Yeah. Because he broke the pod.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but the basis and general consensus of his Intercontinental Championship reign, did you know that Ryback likes The Secret? Did you know he reads The Secret? Did you know that, Dan? No, I didn't. No.
There was also, the weird relationship with Paul Heyman. They tried to make him a Paul Heyman guy.
Well, you also have to understand this was after he feuded with John Cena for the title. My thing was he wrestled Mark Henry at WrestleMania 29. He was the babyface against Mark Henry. Mark Henry beats him, and then the next night he turns heel, and he's going in a feud with Cena.
Randomly. And then
Ryback.
Issue with him.
Well, what about Ryback? Really quick. Ryback. Come on, Dan.
Didn't discuss that.
Poor Curtis Axel. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The bullshit that anytime he really fucking opens his mouth, it's just like he made comments after, I get it. Vince is not a very likable guy.
Right.
To make comments about Vince's mother, his mother who had just deceased, had just passed away.
Then he tried to justify it on Twitter. Well, no, you don't talk about a man's mother. What the hell's wrong with you?
You don't talk about somebody that had nothing to do with it.
Right.
You got beef with Vince, fine, take it up with him.
Then poor Triple H gets sick and has his heart issue, and then Ryback's like, I don't really like him, but, I really wish him well. You didn't need to say that, Ryan. You didn't need to say that.
And the dude changed his name to Ryback.
Like, Ryback
Reeves. His name is legit Ryback
Reeves. Not Ryan Reeves. Ryback Reeves. And he wants to have a match with Goldberg. I've seen his lives. I've seen his stuff. Mind you, I don't like what he had to deal with that stalker, and I believe that stalker is now in jail. I don't want anybody to have to deal with anything like that because that guy went after his mother, whatnot. I'm not saying anything about that because that should not happen to any person. But he, for what he said about Vince McMahon's mother, what he said about Triple H when he was sick, fuck that.
And maybe the comments, oh, Bray would have lived longer if he wasn't a wrestler.
I saw that, and man, oh man, he got reamed, rightfully so, for that. What is wrong with it? But he's like, well, they're like, well, that's not what he said. He said this. No, he's legit saying that if he was not a wrestler, he would have lived longer. Like, that was not the time and place for it.
He got COVID.
He got COVID.
He had already an existing heart issue, and COVID fucked him up.
It exasperated it, yes. Just Ryback does not know when to be quiet.
He wonders why literally no promotion there is a greater chance of AEW bringing back CM Punk than them ever bringing in Ryback.
Well, just not even the whole Ryback Goldberg thing, but the fact that he went at Booker T, and Booker T's like,
for no reason.
For that, he's like, well, you don't know what my situation was there. And Booker's like, do you really want to go down this road with me, sir? Like, Booker T would mollywop him, not even just like as a person, but just verbally.
He mollywop Batista.
Well, yeah, exactly. He beat the crap out of Batista. You don't think he could beat the crap out of Ryback?
And, Ryback is a guy that, honestly, people don't miss him.
They don't. Like, every poll, retire.
How many times did he have to delete that Twitter poll and repost it saying, oh, people are trying to manipulate.
Twitter's out to get me. Twitter's out to get me. It's like, no. Like, when he got released he didn't get released. He quit in 2016, right? Wade Barrett was gone at that time and all these free agents. Impact didn't even touch him because there was a lot of them going Impact, like Cody Rhodes, for example, at that time. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him at all.
Yeah, like, dude, just stop.
Just go away.
Like, literally, of all the people that Triple H has brought back, there's part of Ryback that's thinking, like, well, bring me back.
Well, did you hear what he said that before we get to the final person, Wade Barrett? But do you know what he said about Triple H after his release? Do you remember what he said on the show? So he goes, this is the one time where I lost all respect for Triple H. Like, this person's a monster and all that. So he goes, I'm sitting there training because he was injured at the time, because of course he was. So he's rehabbing and stuff. And he goes, and he's talking with Triple H. He goes, how you doing, man? And all that stuff. And he's talking with Triple H. And then Triple H goes to Ryback, well, they're going to pull the plug on you anyway, meaning like you're injury prone. You're probably going to be on the chopping block and get released soon. And Ryback's like, that was a disgusting thing to say because he doesn't know how hard I worked. He's like, well, dude, he's being honest with you. You're fucking injury prone. They're probably going to cut you.
And they did.
And they did. They did.
Here's the thing. Would you rather have somebody, like, Mike, let me ask you, if you were, a sports entertainer or wrestler, whatever you want to fucking call it, would you rather have somebody like Triple H who's going to be honest with you and say, look, that wasn't good? Or, look, you're going to be real with you. Triple H does not sugarcoat with people.
And I like that because first of all, he's not being malicious. He's being honest, and he's giving me constructive criticism. If Triple H, who's learned from Killer Kowalski, was telling me this, I would want to do that. I would want to get better. I would want to apply the craft. That's the thing. I don't take that as an insult. I'm listening to one of the greats tell me, hey, this is what's going to happen. You may get fired from this. Like, he's trying to tell you to do better, or he's being upfront with you about the situation.
How many people have been fired and have come back better?
Lots. Like Drew Galloway, when he left from the 3MB, he went to Impact, did his thing on the Indies, came back, and he's amazing.
Franklin Lashley?
Bobby Lashley went from Impact and doing his thing to coming back to WWE and killed it. The Hurt Business is one of his best runs.
Oh, yeah. And I like what he's doing now.
With the Street Profits, it's different. They're like, hey, get out of my way.
Which is sort of like Hurt Business 2.0. I mean, I don't hate it.
But let's see where it goes. But that's the point, dude. Like, all these people can go back and or some of them go to Japan or the Indies and other promotions and come back and do their thing. But yeah, he took that as like offense.
Luke Gallows.
First
he was Fake Kane.
Then he was Festus. Then he was Luke Gallows. Then they got fired. He's in the Bullet Club and he's going all around doing his thing, and then they come back.
So first he was Fake Kane. Yep. Then it was Festus. Then he was Luke Gallows.
Mhm.
Then he got let go.
Yep.
Went to TNA to be,
Doc.
Doc Gallows.
Doc.
Then he went to Japan, part of fucking Bullet Club. Then he goes to WWE, gets fired again,
Yes.
and goes back to Japan, back to AEW,
Well,
comes
yeah.
back to WWE.
Yep.
Like, dude, you can get hired and fired multiple times.
And
And
they take him back, and him like
look
they're
at Kane.
yes.
How many times did Kane get let go and come back?
Right. He was Isaac Yankem, then Kane, then we didn't see him again, then Kane, then this. Like you could like get let go or you can go away and then come back. It's like okay. But that's the problem. Nobody wants to fucking touch Ryback. And he's like, oh, well, it's our issue, and they try to do this and desensitize my social media and derp derp derp. Like, motherfucker, nobody cares. Like, shut
Do you
up.
think they have that much power?
Like, shut up. Ugh.
Look at
Again,
Daniel Bryan. Was fired multiple times.
2010. Then he came back, and then he got fired again.
You want a good example? Brock Lesnar.
This man legit quit and went to football. Said a lot of shit about WWE. Went to Japan. Went to UFC. Then he came back.
And did the one thing that nobody thought would ever happen.
Yep.
Paul Heyman's client, Brock Lesnar, conquered the streak.
Yes. Exactly. But that's my thing with Ryback. I think to put a bow on him, he had a forgettable Intercontinental title reign. His big thing was the Punk feud. The Rybacksel shit sucked. They turned him heel. The Cena stuff was fine. The Kalisto match, he was on the fucking pre-show of WrestleMania 32, and they were starting to turn him heel again, and then he quit because he wanted equal pay for everybody.
Is that the truth? Who knows? Another one, the Hardys.
The Hardys went away, did their thing in TNA, and they came back to one of the biggest ovations in WrestleMania history. Man, nobody wants to touch you, Mr. Ryback Reeves, which I still cannot believe that he's literally called. I mean, well, even him, like he started in Tough Enough, the $1 Million Tough Enough, and they fired him. And then he came back, and Skip Sheffield was born.
Yep. What it do?
What it do? And he was actually funny. Like he was funny as that character. And then but that was the next.
Had that finisher, which I don't understand the marching.
Oh, the shell shock.
Yes, but like the marching, like the up and down,
And then drops him, yeah.
like just put him up
and just drop him.
Like literally, it's a modified fireman's carry.
It's a fisherman buster. Like, come on, man.
You don't need to march around like a moron.
Well, it was because he was doing feed me more, and then done. Yeah, whatever.
Here's another one. Another example.
What?
Rhea Bloody Ripley.
Yes.
Initially tried out for years ago, and they said because she thought she needed to look like Charlotte Flair, blonde, well put together.
Yeah, she was very cookie cutter.
That's not who she was. She came back, and she's arguably their biggest fucking star right now.
Well, if you remember the first,
I say that, and sorry to cut you off, but I say that beyond men, beyond other. She is one of their most bankable stars. You want to lead her Judgment Day? It's not Finn, it's not Priest, it's not Dom, it's
Rhea.
Mommy,
yep. But no, you didn't cut me off. You're fine. I was gonna say, dude, like blonde hair. She was the cookie cutter in the first Mae Young Classic. Then she gets like this goth transformation. It's like, who the hell is this? Like, who are you? Like, where'd you come from? And then
she transitions from NXT UK to the regular NXT. She has the kind of punk rock look.
Yep.
And you're just like,
I like it.
Hello.
Yes.
Show me more. I want to see more of her.
Yeah.
And she's, again, like I said, and she's not even, I don't even know if she's 30 yet.
I think she's like 26, 27.
But she is, I mean, you look at people like Trish, who's near 50 and looks incredible. You have Ripley, who's keeping herself in good shape. Rhea is honestly their most bankable star.
Agreed. Like, I love it. Like, she's so good, and I definitely want to see her in an intergender match. Like she's China. She legit is China.
But she can actually wrestle.
But she can actually wrestle.
Sorry.
Yes. God rest her soul, but it's the truth. Now, one final member of the Nexus that we haven't mentioned, the one and only Wade Barrett. So after the core, he becomes Bad News Barrett with the gavel. I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
You gotta say it right. Gotta,
Yeah, okay. I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Well, I'm afraid I've got some bad
news.
Yes, there's the news.
News. Okay, thank you. So he becomes Bad News Barrett. I thought it was hilarious. Then he's multiple times with the Intercontinental title.
We got to mention.
Good.
The scissor lift.
Just fucking all the way up.
And just having the
just the gal is hilarious. Like it works.
Laughing and smiling like an idiot, saying, "Can we have some decorum, please?"
Thank you very much.
And the whole time, the music's playing. And if there was ever another time to put the world title on him, and it said that Vince doesn't like it when things get over with the fans that he didn't,
Zack Ryder, anybody? Zack Ryder, anybody?
Oh. But that worked, and the fans were loving it.
Loving it, yes. But no, then he goes back to being, well, the thing is, they stripped everything from that away. Then he was just like normal Wade Barrett, but with the Bad News Barrett name. And like, we talked about multiple time Intercontinental champion.
The ring.
The King Barrett was hilarious.
King Bad News.
King Bad News. I mean, after that, like, here's my thing with him. He had such a great run. He could do anything. I mean, and then the League of Nations. Like, then he got out because he wanted to leave. I mean, I don't blame him.
He hated League of Nations.
He hated it, but I don't blame him because they were not doing anything with him. Like, I don't blame him for wanting to leave.
Vince doesn't like it when there are people that he wants as heels, and the fans are like, "No, we like this guy."
Yep.
Roman, for example. So if you think WrestleMania 30, once Bryan got eliminated and fans were, cheering Roman on, and, it wasn't because it was Roman. Because we didn't want Batista, even though we all knew.
Yeah, and because it came down to Batista and Roman, and everybody wanted anybody but Batista.
Literally, it could have been a goddamn broom.
And yeah,
they broom. It could have been the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and they would have cheered him.
They did not want Batista.
Literally anybody. It was because the fans had it in their mind that it was going to be Daniel Bryan, and it wasn't. So Vince saw that as his cue, like, that's our guy. Now, personally, when you think of the Shield, who should it have been? It should have been Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. Moxley.
Yeah. Before he started bleeding every week.
Yeah. How he has any blood left in his body? Like,
well,
how many tetanus shots do you suppose that man has had in the last 3-4 years?
Probably a whole lot. And I mean, I'm gonna say it because I know a lot of people won't. Like, I don't hate Jon Moxley, but out of everybody that's come from the Shield, he's just the one. For me, it's just blood. The blood kills me. I don't know what happened from when he was the champion of the COVID era, right? And he's having these bangers, and then he comes back, and then it's
banger after banger
after banger.
The Banger Bros.
The Banger Bros. And then he just comes back, and it's just kind of like, man. Like, are you the Blackpool Combat Club? Fine, but I'm just like, it takes me away because every time he's going to bleed.
It's still the deathmatch style. He got to start in CZW, which Adam Cole did too.
Brody Lee.
F did.
Brody Lee.
Big Rig Brody.
Yeah.
But let's look at it this way. It wouldn't work. You look at WWE, and Wade Barrett is somebody that he should have been a multi-time world heavyweight champion. There's so many missed opportunities. And, he went to NWA. It said that he had back injuries and, I
mean, he tried acting. I remember him doing some movies, and like Dead Man Down was one of them he was in. I mean, but if you look at it, like you talk about him being he should have been a multi-time world champion. The blessing in disguise is he got to do his thing as a commentator, and he's one of the best doggone commentators now.
I loved him in NXT's commentary. I love him on Raw.
I love him on SmackDown. Yeah.
You know, honestly, he is incredible.
Yeah.
And has he said, you know, does he have one match left in him? Possibly.
Yeah, but I don't think he wants to.
If you presented him with an idea and it was something that was good, I think he'd do it.
But that's my thing too. I mean, like, I like what you're saying there, but also I think with him, it's just like, no, I'm enjoying doing the commentary side of things. I'm enjoying having fun. Yes, and you don't want to get hurt. But also at the same time, there's other stuff that you do. Like Corey Graves, I'm sure would have been in the same position. But at the same time, it's like you're loving what they're doing here. And I mean, they did the Nexus documentary, if you remember. Like a lot of them would have been down to do a reunion. Darren Young said he would do it. Like they were gonna do it. It would have been fun.
And I think I remember at one point there was talk that it was happening, and then
nothing.
It's almost as if somebody got forced out.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if that has anything. No, couldn't be.
Couldn't be.
But honestly, it would have worked. But you know, if we didn't have Corey Graves on commentary, we would have missed out on one of the greatest reactions. You know what I'm talking about. The trip heard round the world, the greatest Royal Rumble.
Just laughter of Titus O'Neil going under that damn ring.
What made that so funny and so great was not that Titus fell, it was Corey's reaction. And I remember when it initially happened, you didn't see Titus slip. You see him run, and then it's in the ring, and you just hear Corey laughing like an idiot.
Just that's all you hear.
And then they caught it on another angle. And
everybody's dying.
As Titus is falling, you hear him scream out loud, "Oh!" And he just slides. It was that he slid. Like, we're talking like a major league ball player just sliding in the home. And he just goes.
He is so lucky he didn't hit his head on anything under that ring. He is so lucky.
You know, on the frame, because initially people are thought that would have broken his neck.
Right, yeah.
But like that, he falls in. And they played that to death.
Yes.
But you know what? Titus is a good sport about it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean,
that's money off of it. He made a shirt.
Yes. Well, one of the other things I will mention that kind of has to do with this before we close this out, like with Heath Slater was another one. Were you a fan of Slater Gator with him and Titus O'Neil?
I was.
And then they broke it up. Slater Gator, baby. That was the thing.
It's a shame we never got a 3MB reunion.
I mean, briefly before Heath Slater left, like they did that match with him and Drew during the COVID era, then he went to Impact, but that's about it.
Like, honestly, dude, do it. Like, get it, you know, just one time. Just once.
So that's the thing, too. And I mean, if you look at the Nexus, and I mean, it was only a year, but still very memorable from its inception. It took a turn for the worst from the trajectory, but I mean, people still talk about that debut of them killing everybody and tearing down the ring and just everything. So, I mean,
Choke around the world.
Yes. And the choke and everything around the world. But yeah, that's the thing, man. I think if you're not Nexus, you're against us. It was a nice concept. It launched a lot of careers.
Or execution.
Poorly executed. That's the thing. Launched careers, but poorly executed.
And I'm afraid I've got some bad news. That brings us to the end of our show.
Well, there's not some bad news here because there's
like some transition there.
I like that. I love you, man. This is why we're a team. Dude, folks, speaking of the end and the closing, we are closing on the end of summer as we are recording this. So what a best way to do our next episode. We are going to be talking about the worst matches in SummerSlam history.
Some of them you may be surprised at. Others you're going to be like, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
Undertaker versus Undertaker, anybody?
Cool storyline.
Terrible match.
And you know what? At that point, I'm just gonna say real quick, I don't blame Mark Calloway because you gotta specify because it's multiple Undertakers. Say, well, which one? There was real life heat between Brian Lee and Mark Calloway. I will not be discussing it. We will not be
No,
discussing it.
but
You
yeah,
can look it up.
it's
Google is free.
Google is your friend.
There were a lot of really great matches. A lot
But
of
there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of bad. And Undertaker will probably also be on that list because of him and Kane against DDP and who better than Canyon in that tag team cage match at SummerSlam 2000.
WCW tag team title.
WCW tag titles. Oh, well, wait till the next episode, folks. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be good. But before we close this out, you, sir, promo series, it's you, Dazzy Dangerously, the captain, and Teddy P for the knowledge title, and the winner stays on Gauntlet. It's you and Mo versus the winner of the blind tag team eliminator. Go ahead.
Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. And I'm in action against Beer in the promo exhibition. Here we go. So stay tuned for that when we get to Max Wrestling promo series. And check out this one over here because y'all did a great TSK review of All In and talking about that. Check that out on the Max Wrestling YouTube.
We got more coming. Talking about that guy, the guy that likes Pepsi. That's coming at some point, not sure when.
Oh boy. Well, I can't wait to listen to it. And if you want to listen to this, first of all, folks, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are almost at 600 subscribers.
You should be already.
You should be. Come on, man. We're almost to 600 subscribers here, folks.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. And subscribe to this show. Check out myself, SM Show 1, MCL92 on the Twitter, Larkin_92 and MLarkinMB. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out Dan D. Crimmins 1 over here on the Instagram. Give Dan a follow.
The little bell thingy right down there.
Right down here. Subscribe to us. Check us out. Links will be in the description.
It's not hard.
It's not. Just give us a ring a ding ding.
Right over the bell with your little mouse thing there, and you do the little left click right over it. You push the button down.
All you gotta do is subscribe.
And you'll get notified whenever Mike uploads and you see our smiling faces.
Just talking about wrestling and doing what we love to do. It's not hard.
That's hard. It's not hard.
So beware because, well, first of all, Dan, here's what's great about it too, folks, because we are about to be on episode 5. We are halfway through the season, so catch up with us, man, because we're halfway done with season 2. We're halfway there.
And what are some of the other topics that we have coming, just so the good folks can, kind of whet their palate and they can get excited over what we have to come.
Sure. So for the rest of season 2, a lot of the stuff we have coming up, we have Vengeance 2002, which was the first pay-per-view that I watched.
Wasn't it 03?
No, 02, the one with John Cena and Jericho and The Rock and the underrated triple threat, Rock, Kurt Angle, and The Undertaker.
03, that was Undertaker and Cena.
Yes. So we'll be talking about John Cena's pay-per-view debut and that pay-per-view. Yes. Who is that? We'll be discussing that show. We're going to be discussing Cody Rhodes' initial run in WWE part 1. We're going to do a 2-parter for the end. So Cody Rhodes' WWE run part 1 and Cody Rhodes after WWE in return part 2. So that is going to be a good one. We got a lot of stuff coming, man. So that's just a little bit of what we have for left. And also a special bonus episode.
A dessert, if you will.
A dessert, if you will, with Daniel here. This is going to be all you in this one, just reviewing and talking about AEW Fight Forever. And I can't wait to hear it.
Shit, I've got some shit to say about that game. And so, if you're an AEW diehard fan,
this is not the show for you.
You're not gonna like it. I will be fair.
Yes,
I will be fair. But if you think this is the greatest wrestling game of all time, bounce
out the door. I ain't gonna take this no more. So be on the lookout for those episodes to drop. We will be back in episode 5 talking about the worst SummerSlam matches. For Daniel Crimmins, my name is Mike Larkin. Thank you so very much for listening to another edition of Uncaged. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.